It is such an honor to be here. This is the first live stream we're doing for the year. So it would be remiss of me to not wish everybody who's joined in, thank you for joining in, and all of the warmest blessings for a brand new 2022. And I think that's why we're all here, because opportunities are opening up. There's so much excitement going on. And in the arts community, there seems to be such a buzz with content creators coming out of the woodworks with brand new exciting ideas, different mediums and formats that we're looking to explore, and of course, lots of content and themes that are becoming ever more pertinent. So welcome to it. I am joined by a very esteemed panel representing partners. And the objective of this Q&A is really to open up for you to ask any questions with regards to the Design Futures Lab 2022. So many of you who are joining now will know that applications are open. You'd have received all of the links to find out how to apply, when to apply, when their closing deadline is. And maybe this will also assist in answering some of those questions that may prevent some hesitancy or some feelings of overwhelm, or really just to gain further clarity. So welcome to it. Thanks for joining. I think let's start off by asking each of the partners to introduce themselves, and also just to explain a little bit about their involvement in this program, maybe a little bit of why and what excites them most. Can I start with the Electric South? And joining us is Ingrid on the line. Hi, Ingrid.
Hi, hello. Thanks so much, Grace. It's so wonderful to be part of this new initiative, and happy 2022 to all of you. So we at Electric South, we've been running labs and workshops since 2015 in XR, mostly around virtual reality work. And this particular initiative is really exciting for us because we've been talking for a long time about how to sort of build conversations around sustainability and the future of our Earth and climate change into our work. And then I had this conversation with Grace, and this initiative kind of emerged. So it's a kind of perfect bringing together of all of these interests. And it's not anything we've ever done before. So we're really excited to kind of see what this can become. It's a new kind of workshop and a new kind of format for us. But we're really, really excited to see what happens when you kind of bring these ideas around sustainable fashion and the kind of immersive and storytelling potential of XR together. So I am going to introduce one of our amazing partners, Jackie May, in a second, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the sort of fashion side of things. But before I do, I just want to mention that the other partner that we'll be working with is Crossover Labs in the UK, who have years of experience across the whole range of immersive storytelling. So they curate work for festivals, they run workshops, and they also produce work. So they're going to be our amazing UK partner to connect these projects that come out of this initiative to audiences and industry in the UK. And we're really happy to have them on board. So I just wanted to mention that. And big thank you to Mark and Tom from Crossover for being part of this. So let me introduce Jackie May, and she can talk to you a little bit about Twyg and what Twyg does, and then we can jump into more about the grant, the project itself. And I'm going to switch my camera off, not because I don't want to be on the screen, but I just have not great internet, so I'm just going to go invisible for a while. Over to you, Jackie.
Thanks very much, Ingrid. And Happy New Year, everybody. And really nice to start the year off with this very exciting project. So Twyg is involved because we will be running a workshop prior to the digital lab. And we'll be focusing on sustainable fashion and what that means for our community in South Africa. What does it mean to think about fashion, to think about caring, and to think about community and climate in an African context? We're in the global South. We have very, very different, a very different set of issues that we want to tackle in the fashion space. And fashion is such a wonderful, wonderful medium to inspire conversations and inspire change and inspire new ways of living. So once we're busy developing and thinking about the workshop, and once we know who all the participants will be, we'll probably be designing and focusing on the work that you do to make it relevant to your work too. So looking forward to all the applications and seeing who will be in the workshop. And back to you, Grace.
That's so wonderful. I mean, there's so many different parts to this, and which is why I think part of the reason and the value around having an open conversation like this one is to really iron out some of the confusion and kind of get something all in one go. But I think right at the top, what needs to be iterated again and again is that it's a brand new space, is that it's experimental, is that we are trying and learning and growing together. We co-creating something that hasn't been done before. And we kind of doing that with the hopefully the brand new energy of a brand new year. So from a British Council perspective, I think, you know, it was really listening to a lot of the creatives that we work with. Our mandate, of course, is to create communities, or at least to inspire opportunities to connect communities between creative communities in South Africa and those in the UK. But I think more than that, it's also really to take art and culture and understand with the cultural intelligence how we are making a better world, how we are solving some of our most pressing issues, and how we're making art. And I think over the past couple of years, absolutely undeniable, we've been seeing technology advance at such a rate, and we're also seeing content that's happening on mediums and platforms that are really hard to understand for those that are not in the space. So I think this has been really an exciting idea that's blossomed with all of the partners on board. Warm thank you to everybody again for taking on this wild idea. And as we go into it, I think let's just start off by briefly describing what the opportunity is and also who we're looking for to apply. Can I ask you to take that, Electric South?
Absolutely. Yes, and I'm just going to keep my camera off, so I hope you can all hear me clearly.
All good.
So as Grace said, you know, this is a new initiative, and one of the things that I would really encourage participants or potential participants to do is to just kind of jump in and go for it, because, you know, we're shaping this as we go along in many ways, because we are trying to sort of figure out what the needs are of the people applying. So please reach out to us at Electric South at any time. Our details are on the site, or you can email us at info@electricsouth.org if you have any questions. And we're really open to that. You know, we encourage it because we know that some of the parameters around us are still maybe a little bit confusing for folks. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're open to having conversations and talking you through some of the things that we're looking for. But basically, the way that we're envisaging this is that we're asking creative technologists and digital storytellers and digital artists to apply in pairs to attend both the online fashion sustainability workshop and then the lab that we're going to be running through Electric South, which will be specifically around XR. So that the lab will be where we'll take people through virtual reality and augmented reality techniques and help the projects prototype their ideas during the lab. And then the idea is that afterwards, they then get the 75,000 Rand to go and develop a prototype with our support. So we'll continue to mentor and support. And we can talk in more detail later about exactly what those prototypes should be and what we mean by prototypes. But the idea is that these are working, feasible VR and AR projects, but it may be a part of a project. It may be, a sort of prototype that will then be developed further later. They can be kind of quite experimental in nature, because we are really encouraging people to sort of take risks and try new things with these prototypes. And we'll be there to support the whole way. So we're going to be looking for 9 teams of 2 artists, and we'll help them, right from the beginning all the way through. And this is a question that has come up, if there are sustainable fashion designers, designers who are interested in this space, artists who are perhaps don't have the digital or creative technology skills, they can pair up with someone who has those skills and apply. So we are open to those kinds of pairs, but one of the people in each pair needs to have the creative chops to be able to actually build a prototype and do that work. So, that's why that's a requirement. And again, we are open to connecting you to communities who can help you find those people. But we're really designing this, so that there is a creative technologist on board. And I just wanted to just reiterate that anyone applying does need to be a citizen or permanent resident of South Africa. This project is focused on South Africa, and they will need to come to Cape Town for the dates of the lab. It's a 3-day lab in Cape Town. The rest of it can be done from anywhere, and the fashion part of it will be online. So it's, hopefully will be fairly easy, and all costs obviously to get people to Cape Town and put them up will be covered by the project. So that's kind of the overall overall shape of the project. I don't know if you want me, Grace, to go into any more detail around the sort of XR side of things. What would be most helpful?
Absolutely. And I mean, again, just to reiterate, everything is on the website. We also have some frequently asked questions that, again, you'll have access to. We did open this up, and given that it's live in this time of the year, we're hoping that people will get on board or at least join us on this call before the 30 minutes is up. We're halfway there to the mark. So if you have any pressing questions that you'd like to put in, do put that in the chat. We'll see if we can get to as many as we can in the allocated time. So you're on a roll, Ingrid. Yes, please take us through XR and the modality of it. What exactly are we talking about?
Sure. So what we're looking for is projects that are going to involve virtual reality or augmented reality in some way. But one of the things that because the idea of this project is to really experiment and prototype maybe a new kind of project, we're open to hybrid projects. So there may be a VR element, and then maybe there's a physical element, or maybe there's a fashion, some kind of like fashion technology that already exists, and you want to do something with that in virtual reality or using augmented reality. So we are open to hybrid approaches, but we would expect there to be some immersive XR component to the work. And again, we're taking a really expansive view around that. So you might, for example, be investigating some kind of world building or avatar creation in VR chat, which can work in a VR headset, but can also exist on the web because you can access VR chat from a browser on a PC. So, it's not necessarily something that would require a headset, for example. And again, if anyone has any questions around that, we're happy to talk further. But I just wanted to kind of reiterate that if you have an idea that has a VR component, but there's maybe some other, or an AR component, but maybe there's some other parts to it. Again, it could be anything from wearables to world building to avatar creation, any of those things. That sounds fantastic to us. And if it's something we haven't thought of, pitch it to us, because we really are kind of open to kind of people exploring new ways of thinking about how XR and sustainable fashion can intersect. And we would hope that we haven't thought of all of those ideas yet. That's what we're kind of hoping the participants will come to us with, new ways of thinking about how that might work. And actually, Jackie, maybe this is a good time for you to jump in, because I thought one of the questions that's come up a lot is kind of what we mean by sustainable fashion and design. And I was just thinking, maybe I know we're going to go into more detail in your workshop for the participants that are selected, but maybe for now you could just give a few examples of the kinds of things that you at Twyg are interested in when you're thinking about sustainable fashion and what that can be.
Okay, great. It's always a tricky question to answer, but I always like to think of sustainable fashion as fashion that doesn't harm people or planet. So thinking about clothes that can go back to be composted without causing any harm to the planet, and in the process of making or managing the waste and end of life process, that nobody is treated in any undignified way. So in South Africa, we have so many fabulous examples of sustainable fashion designers who work with recreating clothes out of old clothes, using end of roll fabric, making their own fibers, weaving their own fibers. So that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is showcasing South African fibers like our fantastic Cape mohair and merino wools, which are very sustainable, locally grown natural fibers. And then I think a very, very important part of sustainable fashion is cultural sustainability, which is showcasing and highlighting artisanal practices that might not necessarily be very high tech. So what I'm finding also really exciting about this particular project is that bringing together of the kind of artisanal practices and this very high-end tech space that we're going to be creating these projects in. So I think that's really exciting. And I think that's something that it's like almost like a paradox in a way. It creates a bit of a tension, and out of that, some very exciting narratives will take shape, I think. Yeah, I think, and then what's really big in South Africa at the moment is eco-dyeing, using indigenous plants and waste food to color fabrics. And there's a lot of very interesting designers and artists working in that textile space. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what we do with this project.
That's awesome. Thanks both. And I think that's the interesting thing about it, right? So we're gonna, or at least we're expecting to see some really brave and bold ideas and forms and ways of digital storytelling. We're looking for interesting collaborations and ways of working together so that we can build a system and a network, or a cohort, if you will, of interesting creative technologists, designers, people interested in sustainability narratives, and of course, working all together. So maybe also throwing a little bit forward into the future. We've discussed what we can expect at the lab. Already been discussed 2 components, a sustainability fashion workshop, as well as the 3-day XR component workshop that will happen in Cape Town for all applicants. And where is this going? We will discuss some mentorship and how to get there, as well as looked at some of the expenses, and all of the expenses will be covered, as well as grants to make the work. Where is this intending to go? Can we talk about market access? Something that's come up for British Council continuity over the years, and especially in a program like this, really looking to develop sustained livelihoods and really looking at the creative economy practice of it. So where are we looking to end up at the end of the design futures space? Ingrid, perhaps you can take this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is something that's very exciting about this initiative is, you know, we're not only going to be going through the lab process, the workshopping process with the selected participants, and then developing the work. But after that, we will also be working with all of you to connect those projects to industry, to festivals, to spaces, conferences, who can actually help you take it forward. And obviously, as part of that, connected to your practices, whatever they may be, right? Because I'm imagining people are going to be coming from very interdisciplinary spaces. But the idea is that with us and Crossover Labs in the UK, we're going to be working both in South Africa and in the UK to make sure that you have an opportunity to pitch your projects and get feedback from industry about market opportunities for that work. And the way, you know, we're thinking about, because we understand that you are developing prototypes and not necessarily completely finished projects, but the way that we are going to support you is to actually connect you with the people, the people who can help you actually take those projects further, should you wish to do so, but also perhaps exhibit those projects and create spaces to talk about the work as they are. Because even though, you know, and I know maybe for some people who are not in the kind of technology space, even though I keep using the word prototype, we are really thinking of these as publicly facing prototypes. So these are projects that are feasible, that work as they are, even if they are part of a project or perhaps could be developed further. We would really like these to be projects that could be shown, you know, to for example, you know, a public at an exhibition. So that, you know, that's kind of how we're thinking about prototypes. It's not a PowerPoint presentation of something you might build. It's something that you have built in VR or AR that is ready to show. It just may not be, you know, it may be one step towards the final project. It could be a chapter. It could be a way to maybe figure out one part of it. So, I mean, imagine you're looking at artisanal weaving in one part of South Africa. Maybe you're working with one weaver, but you're thinking that, you know, a larger project could actually be traveling around South Africa and talking to multiple weavers. So maybe that's how you could think about the prototype. I would imagine, you know, that different people will think about those prototypes in different ways. And one of the things that we will do in the lab section is actually help you workshop that. So help you really think about what kind of prototype will work for your project. But I do want to make it really clear that when I say prototype, I'm not talking about a PowerPoint presentation for something you want to build in the future. This really is, we're going to be giving you mentorship and finances to actually build something in virtual reality or augmented reality. Yeah, so I hope that answers the kind of, you know, what we're thinking with the prototype and where it goes afterwards. And, you know, and we would be delighted. Obviously, we want to give you the opportunity to pitch these projects, but if these projects end up being exhibited, and we're going to, you know, we're really going to be working hard around that, that would be, you know, fantastic for all, we think, so that we can like widen this conversation and bring more people, you know, to the space, because we think it's such an important conversation to be having right now.
Absolutely, and the more the merrier. I mean, also coming in the chat was, you know, defining things like prototype that you touched on, Ingrid. Thanks for that. And also, I think that there's a lot of vocabulary around words, and I think anything new, particularly around new tech, for me personally, is always quite a challenge to wrap my head around and to have conversations that are accessible. So hopefully, we can include as many people as possible and be as inclusive as possible. We are taking questions in. The second one is around the experimental factor. Is it restricted to HR or VR? I'm wondering, this has been addressed before, and I'm wondering if this has to do with other aspects of perhaps this proof of concept. Jackie, perhaps to talk a little bit about the storytelling aspect, if I'm getting the question correct.
Yeah, so I mean, I can talk about the XR side. So yes, I mean, this is an initiative designed around XR. So we are expecting the applications to include an XR component. But like I said, if there are other parts to it, that we're really excited about that too. So it doesn't have to be, you know, you could be working on a project that has all these other elements. Maybe you're designing, I don't know, some kind of game, or I don't know, you know, you could be doing all sorts of things. But for this particular initiative, we are going to expect you to prototype an XR project. So it would need to be a VR or AR project. But, you know, just, you know, to maybe give a few more definitions, the AR project could be something that you do with your phone or a tablet. It doesn't necessarily have to require a headset. And one of the things that we will talk about in the lab is the huge range of XR potential. Because I think often when people hear XR, they think you must have a VR headset and you have to be in a virtual world. But there are lots of different ways of creating XR, including, you know, AR with a phone. So, I mean, you know, Snapchat filters are AR, right? So there are interesting things you could do with filters. So you could go from anything from filters to layered experiences with AR to a full world that you build, or an avatar experience that you create in VR, to a VR film that involves fashion. You know, we've worked with Nirma Madhu and Seli Ravikane on VR films in the past that are sort of with a fashion focus. So there's a huge range within XR, but we are looking for an XR component.
Thank you. I mean, the next question that's come up is around partners. Does your partner need to be in the same area as you are? So, I mean, this program is going out throughout South Africa. So it's a nationwide program, even though it's taking place in Cape Town. And I mean, I guess this is something around practice. So in terms of when the work is created, my thoughts is that somebody or your partner in the same area would make sense. Although given definitions of working remotely, that might be something that's left up to choice. Would you agree with that, Ingrid? I don't know if Ingrid's there, or Jackie can take that. And specifically with working with creative technology, I'm wondering if Tara, if you're on the line, maybe you can also discuss just being a technologist, how does that work?
I'm sure, sorry, I'm just going to jump in there, Grace. I'm sure that with the way people have been working in the last couple of years, it would be fine for people not to live in the same location. And at the lab, obviously, they will be working together during the actual residency of those 3 days. So I would imagine that it would be fine to do it remote, you know, not have them living in the same area. Tara, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, so basically, I just feel like as long as there's a good working relationship, it doesn't really matter which part of the country you're based. Yeah, so as long as you keep that working relationship going on, that's great. Yeah, that's it.
I also just wanted to jump in, Grace, just to talk generally about the potential of these skills for the future of fashion. I mean, it is just exploding. So all the big brands are doing these XR fashion films, and it's going to be the future of how you buy clothes, how you try clothes on. So I think anybody who is taking fashion seriously or is going to be very interested in what this lab is about. And I think it's really exciting for designers here in South Africa.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. I mean, maybe we can also go back to you, Tara, asking, are we looking for brand new concepts, or is something near completion allowed? And maybe in the next few minutes, just let us know any additional questions, any pressing matters that we can steamroll through before we draw to a close.
Thanks, Grace. I just want to maybe ask Ingrid that question. Ingrid, are you with us?
Yeah, but I've got very bad connection. Sorry, everyone. Can you?
Okay, no, all good, not to worry. So the question about, can someone submit a proof of concept that is near completion, or do we want brand new concepts? So as Ingrid said, it's all about just applying. If you've got something that's already in the works and you are looking for additional funding for completion, and it kind of speaks to this call, then go ahead and apply. The worst thing that can happen is we don't accept it. So I would say definitely go ahead and apply.
Fantastic, nice. And are there any other pressing questions, Tara, from your side, or anything that's come up during the communication with people asking things about the Design Futures Lab?
Thanks, Grace. We just have 2 more questions that have come through. And I think we can wrap it up on that, and I'll just kind of read it out for everyone. Do we have to submit a complete product, meaning an already functioning immersive experience, or can we submit the idea? So that's kind of what we spoke to earlier. It's a proof of concept initially, so it doesn't have to be complete. It can be a concept that you're just working on, or it can be something that's near to completion. So please don't let that stop you from applying. And then the second question, or the last question for today is, will it be fully a digital experience, or can we manifest the digital creation physically, since fashion and textile is involved and it deals with production and manufacturing? So just coming back to Ingrid's answer earlier, where she said, yes, we can definitely bring the physical with the digital. And then just answering further, it has to have a XR element. So just be mindful of that. But we would definitely accept something that does have a physical element to it. So hope that answers your question.
Fantastic. And I think that draws to an end. Does anybody want to do any closing statements? Let's start with you, Jackie from Twyg. Oh, Jackie, are you on mute?
Yeah, and I'm just really excited to see the ideas and the applications, and to meet everybody, and then to see how the ideas unfold and get created. I think it's really very exciting. So please apply, and look forward to meeting you all very soon.
Absolutely. Electric South, any final words from your team?
Just the same sentiment as Jackie. We look forward to seeing what's out there and to creating a community for new creators within the sustainable fashion world as well. So so if you have any questions, just pop it to info@electricsouth.org, or you can message us on our social media platforms. And I'd just like to say thank you very much to Grace and the British Council and Jackie and Twyg for joining us and explaining the lab to everyone.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
That is so awesome. From our side, we can't wait to read the applications. We can't wait to see the work. We can't wait to see where it goes. We can't wait to get more partners on board to join us in this journey and create this ecosystem. A big thank you to Crossover Labs in their absence. Absolutely, the Electric South team, Tara, Ingrid, and Daryl behind the scenes helping with tech. Jackie from Twyg, thank you very much. And from me, Grace, thank you all for joining us. This sounds like a presented program, but hopefully we can take this out into it. Of course, this is going to be downloaded on all of the sites. You've got the info. The deadline is the last day of January. So yes, if there's anything else that needs to be addressed, please do reach out, and wishing you all the best of luck. Thank you so much for joining us.